to order. First thing we need to do is we're going to go into executive session for ORS 192.6602I. That comes after. To review and evaluate the performance of the superintendent. ORS 192.6602B. To consider the dismissal of, or discipline of, or hearing complaints or charges brought against a public officer, employee, staff member, or agent, unless he or she requests an open meeting, and ORS 192.6602F, to consider information or records exempt from law by public inspection. And we will be back approximately 6:20.
We need to do that. Oh, we forgot to flag. Roll call and flag.
It's at the end of my list. Yeah.
Remember what's the first?
All right. Well, I'm sorry. We have to say the Pledge of Allegiance.
There we go.
We'll get it. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I think the roll call.
Okay. It's all messed up. Okay. And we'll do roll call. Director Russell.
Here.
Student Representative Howard.
Here.
Vice Chair Smith-Reed.
Present.
Gotta get used to calling you Director Walker.
Here.
Director Killings.
Here.
And I'm here as well. And now we can recess. Sorry about that. Number 5, agenda approval. Items may be added or removed at this time.
Move that we accept the agenda as stated. I second that.
Okay. Motion's been made to accept the agenda as stated, and it's been seconded. Is there any discussion?
Everything good?
No discussion? Okay, go to vote. Director Russell.
Aye.
Vice Chair Smith-Reed. Director Walker. Director Helens. Vice Chair Yord is aye as well. And then we'll go on to number 6, ASB Public Relations presentation by Casey Warner.
Hello, I am Casey Warner. I'm this year's new ASB Public Relations for our leadership team. And I'm just here to basically give you the monthly recap for what we have so far in November. The agenda is going to be the Elks Teen of the Month, the Rotary Teen of the Month, and events and upcoming events. The Elks Teen is Charity Olson. The Rotary Teen of the Month is June Monteleone. Events. Earlier this evening, we had an NHS veterans panel. We had 4 veterans come and talk to the students about just some stories about when they served, how to help students if they want to enlist, and explain learning opportunities in the military. This is our leadership team at the OASC Fall Conference, where we went and we worked in workshops to better learn more about our positions and how we can teach others who are going to take on this role next year on how to learn different things and to expand what we can really do for our school. Leah Yarber was voted this year as the Northwest representative for OASC, so she will be working on that board next year. Countdown to graduation. We still have a long ways to go, 29 months. But I just wanted to add that in there because we have a lot of stuff that was added to the senior timeline. So anyone who has a senior child should definitely look at it. It's out via Parent Square, and it has anything that you would need to know about graduation, upcoming events, and things you just want to be involved in. Coming up this Saturday, we have a 5K for our Think Pink event. It's a fundraiser. It's at the high school. Yeah, it's this Saturday, November 15th. If you would like to sign up, I would likely go to our Instagram page, official_SHHS, to sign up. And this is our ASB team for the year. Thank you.
Casey, that Think Pink for November 15th, is it a $20?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item 7, consent agenda. The board on an individual basis prior to the meeting has reviewed all material. All financial reports are available for review by the public in the business office. The board considers consent agenda items routine business and will be enacted by the board in one motion. There will be no discussion of these items at the time of the board votes on the motion unless members of the board, staff, or public request specific items to be discussed and or removed from consent agenda.
So we are discussing that then right now?
Right.
So, because the board operating agreement is on here, and I know that we wanted to read over both, like, to offer both to read publicly so that we could work together on that. It was brought forth last time.
Yeah.
I thought we accepted the agenda or the consent. No, I thought we accepted the agreement as was.
Then we pulled it so that we could talk about it.
Yeah.
I guess we'd have to go back and look at minutes, how we said it, but I thought that's what.
No,
Yeah, we
I think
had
it was
pulled it.
pulled
It was
to
pulled
discuss it
last
as an
time,
additional.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it wasn't
And then we
discussed.
put it back on.
Yeah.
So maybe we could put it on the agenda to discuss next time?
I thought that you all had created them during work sessions. That's what I thought. And so that's why it came back on the agenda. So you already discussed them at work sessions. That was what I
Yeah,
heard.
we did, I know that.
I do remember discussing it, and we got one from you thought we took
And I
on
thought
our
that
packet.
that work session was prior to our last board meeting, and we haven't had another work session in between to rediscuss it, I guess, and look at it.
Okay.
Maybe, well, I don't know that we really have one exactly in December yet either, so. Did we get a date to match that one? Okay. Well, okay, no
We're trying to
problem.
get one scheduled for
Okay.
session. We bring it up and talk there and vote on the next board meeting.
And edit, if we need editing or
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
during the work session.
So I think what we do have to do is vote on whether we accept this as it is.
Okay,
And then we can remove something if we want to.
all right. Is there a motion?
I'm sorry. So if we vote to accept it how it is, then we won't be discussing it at
Correct.
the work session. If we vote to not accept it as it is, then we will
We can-
discuss it and possibly modify at the work session.
We can modify
We would
it.
remove
And
it from
remove it
this
from this.
agenda.
Yeah.
Melody, you know how to make
So
that
the
happen, right?
motion be to accept the consent agenda
With
with
the
the
removal
removal
of-
of the.
Yes.
I will do this.
Good job. Thank you, Kim.
Go for it.
She's like, I got this.
I move that the board approve the consent agenda with the removal of the board superintendent operating agreement to be discussed at the November 24 work session.
I'll second.
Okay. The motion's been made and seconded to remove item 7.9 from the board superintendent operating agreement and discuss it at the November 24th work session. There's no further discussion? A vote on that, please? Director Russell?
Aye.
Christine Smith-Reed?
Aye.
Director Walker?
Aye.
Director Helens, and I'm as aye as well. And then we move on to item 8, new business. 8.1, 2024-2025 OSAS.
Good evening, everyone. Glad to be back. An opportunity to present with you. Just recently, the state assessment results have came out. So I'm going to share a little bit about our previous year's 24-25 state assessment results, and then also with that, our benchmark results from this fall as well, too. The one thing I want us to share as it relates to data, and when we start talking about data is not a judgment. And we need to stop thinking about it in a way that we are just labeling good data, good school, bad school. Data is information. And it gives us as a schools and a district information to come up with plans to support our student learning data. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about our Oregon as a whole and then break it down into St. Helens data. So some of the highlights from Oregon in the past year, participation rates are increasing, particularly those in high school, but it's still below 95% of our students are taking the state assessments. While this is the first year that scores have increased in all subjects, reading, ELA, math, and science, we're still haven't quite caught up to the pandemic data. We're still below where that was before. We did see some growth in ELA. Achievement data increased in 3rd grade and 6th or 8th grade, but fell in 4th and 5th. Mathematics achievement increased in 6th or 8th, but fell in grades 4 and 5. And science across the state increased in grades 8th and 11th and fell in 5th grade. We're also seeing some of our subgroups, African American, Hispanic, Latino, students experiencing poverty, have all shown some growth in math and ELA in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Okay? So here's just some overall data relating to the state. As you can see, with so many kids across the state, the data is pretty flat. But you can see some areas where there's some growth. 6th, 7th, and 8th grade specifically, in ELA, math, and science, all saw some pretty good growth based on the state assessment results from last year. So what the data that's been released so far is just basically percentage of students that are meeting or exceeding standard. And what that means, they earn a level 3 or a level 4 on the state assessment data in ELA, math, and science. Our district report card that we shared with you earlier this year at your retreat is not going to be released until later this year, and I'll be back at that point to share a little bit more about that. What's exciting is there's lots of celebrations in St. Helens data. There is growth across the board. It may not be quite where we want it to be yet, but I'm excited about the growth that we're showing so far. So this data right here is in St. Helens, all students, regardless of the school, percentage of students in 23-24 that are meeting the standard, and then percentage of students in 24-25 that are meeting the standard. So if you can see in 3rd grade, we saw some growth. And when we're analyzing data, I think it's important to look at it 2 different ways. One, we're looking at just 3rd grade 1 year to the next. Those are not the same kids. They're different third graders. However, we can have conversations about what we did instructionally. What did we do teaching-wise that helped lead us to those results? And then also, we can look at data in a cohort lens. So how did those students, those third graders do in 23, 24? And then how did they do when they were fourth graders in 24, 25? So it's important to analyze data in both ways. So you can see we saw some, it looks like our fourth graders potentially went down, but when you look, they went up from what they looked like 28%, 23, 24 to 30%, 24.
Wait, so did our fifth graders go to the 20, from 35 to 23?
That's exactly right. So from our our last year's fifth graders, so last year's 23, 24 fourth graders went from 35 to 43. But for whatever reason, typically we see a decline across the state as they move into middle school. And there's often a decrease in our data going from fifth to sixth, and that's not just St. Helens.
The standards
That's,
go far.
the standards increase, and there's some other factors. You know, in elementary school, they have those same kids for the entire day versus their classes and things like that.
We still need to do better.
Yeah, there's still opportunities for growth. So you can see we've made some good gains in 11th grade, made some really good gains, and then across ELA data across the entire district, went from 27% meeting standard to 30% meeting standard. 3% growth every year, that's solid growth. Do we want to be higher than where we are? Yeah, absolutely. But to grow 3% a year, if you do that consistently over time, you're going to see some really good gains. And as we dig deeper into our ELA data, here's our special education students, okay? So you can see our special education students, this is an area that obviously we want to show some growth on, okay? You can see all kids, they did improve. We went from 12% meeting standard to 10% to 12% meeting standard, but there's some flatter areas in the middle school and things like that as well too. And that is part of the work that we are doing is like, okay, when we're thinking about inclusive practices, how can we give students the ability, even if they're special education and they have IP goals, how can we give them the skills to access grade level standards, okay? So we're seeing this data is a little flatter, not quite where we want it to be yet, and it's a little less consistent. But when we look at students of color, we saw some growth from third grade, especially when you look at the third graders in 23, 24, they're at 22%, all the way up to 34% there. Some really great growth within that as well too. And some like 6th to 7th grade and things like that as well. And they did go up. We're at 27% meeting standard to 28% meeting standard. So for the most part, most of our grade levels are fairly flat. They're not showing as much growth as we would want, but there's a lot, this data gives us information as a school and district level to think about what do we want to do district improvement planning wise to meet our kids' needs. Okay, when we look at our math data, what's interesting, I'm going to show our benchmark data. For the most part, our math data is lower than our ELA data. Okay, and I think we could talk to teachers and give us some thoughts on that. But there is, and I'll show you our benchmark. This is also, we've identified what we find to be really essential to teach. And this year, we're really putting a lot of emphasis and effort on building common assessments or rigorous assessments that are doing more to help prepare our kids for taking that state assessment data. But you can see some good growth in certain areas. And we did increase in 11th grade, but also overall, 17% of our students were meeting standard in 23, 24 to 20% in 24, 25, again in that 3%. Okay, our special education students, once again, pretty similar data to their ELA. Okay, so we saw some small gains in certain areas, but this data is much more inconsistent. We did see, if we look at all special education students in math, it also increased from 10 to 12%. But we've got some places to go on how we're supporting our students in special education. And then our students of color, we saw some good growth across the entire grade level, or all students, from 13% meeting standard to 17% meeting standard. And we saw some cohort data that improved as well too. Like from 4th grade to 5th grade, 11 to 21%. There's some good gains within there as well too. And you also see that same dip in math going from 5th to 6th grade. That went from 17 down to 10% as well. Okay. Our science data saw pretty consistent growth across the board. 5th grade increased, 8th grade increased, and all grades increased from 24 to 25%. And then our special education students in science, once again, it's pretty consistent that our special education students are not performing as well as their peers, but that's part of our plan to become more inclusive practices within St. Helens as well too. And then our students of color saw some good gains in like 8th grade an overall increase from 16 to 17%. The one thing with our SBAC results, while it's maybe not the overall data we want it to be, we saw gains across all, when it looks at all grades across math, ELA, and science. So there is growth. We've got ways to go, but there is growth. So as we move forward, we look at our SBA data. That's a review of data from last year. Now we move into our EasyCBM data, which is our benchmark data, which is our universal screener to identify students that are meeting standard, have some risk, or there's high risk for them not meeting standard at the end of the year. And it helps us to determine what type of interventions that we should be providing for kids, and it should be aligned to our district priorities. The one thing with EasyCBM data, that benchmark data, it should be predictive of how kids do on SBA. It should align pretty well. In St. Helens, it doesn't at this time. Okay? So if we look at our reading risk by school, once again, those kids in the green, it doesn't mean they've met all grade level standards. It means they all have all the prerequisite skills they need to access grade level standards. Okay? So you can see where our SBAC results or SBA results were more in the 20s percentile. In our benchmarks in the fall, we're up much more closer to 50% as well too. And that's where we're saying our data in OSAS doesn't match our EasyCBM data, and it's not predictive. Move forward. So there's a reading risk by school, and this is by grade. And you can see we're roughly, high 40s% of students have low risk. We don't have as many kids with the some risk, but the kids in the red, that's what we talk about screener data. It gives us information that those kids in the red, they need significant intervention to be successful at grade level standards. So using this data in the fall gives us a lot of information on how we're best going to support kids. Okay? Really exciting that our kindergartners, which celebrate a lot of days and students working in preschool, are coming in the lowest intense percent population that we have in the district, which is really interesting. Okay? Our math risk by school, what's also interesting about our math data, on SBAC, our students performed higher in ELA, but on our EasyCBM, they're actually performing higher on math. Okay? Which gives us information to be like, okay, they have some skills to access grade level standard, but they're not necessarily able to apply it on an SBA type assessment. And I know a couple weeks ago, we had a few of the teachers in the audience here today. We're here with a math training with elementary and with secondary, and learned a lot of different strategies that can help support them with both instruction and assessment to meet our kids' needs. Okay. And then based on math risk by grade, as you can see, that 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, that's where we're seeing the most students that have the skills they need to be successful in grade level, but fairly consistent data across the board. Go ahead, Joseph.
So you're teaching kids how to take the test though, right?
So yes and no, okay? SBAC and the essential standards that we're providing instruction on, we don't want them to be able to just take the test and take it well.
Yeah.
We want to give them the skills they need to align to grade level standards that they can apply and answer questions in any different ways that it's being asked. And that's the thing about the benchmark assessments are much more computation-based, not a lot of like problem-solving story problems, where SBAC is a lot more like a math problem. Take paragraph, identify what is being asked, use the data in the problem to determine how to solve a problem to get an answer, okay? So this is more of a computation-based in this math, where SBAC and OSAS is more of a problem-solving based skills. Yep. But part of it is, we want our common assessments that we're working on to better prepare our kids to be successful in SBAC as well too. Okay. So that's where our students are at in math. There's some, like I said, there's some really big celebrations. Kinder again coming in, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. There's some real strong skills within those areas as well too. And you can see also in benchmarks, when they go from 5th to 6th, that's the highest percentage of students in intensive range. And those standards in 6th grade, I know even myself, I don't think I'd want to take a 6th grade math assessment at this point. It's no joke. It's not easy. So there's a lot of skills that they have to work on, but that's part of the work that we do on Wednesdays, is we're identifying and analyzing, okay, here's the standard, let's determine a common assessment, and let's plan what type of interventions we're going to provide for kids. So that's our data. It's kind of our snapshot data as a whole. And I'll be back later on this year when we get more comprehensive data about grad rates, attendance, things like that as well on our school report cards. So any questions that you guys have based on the data that you'd like to?
Can you go back a
Sure.
page for me to? Okay.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure.
Yeah,
this-
please.
This particular graph is from the 24-25?
This is 25, 26.
This is 25.
Benchmark is
Yeah.
what we took this September.
Okay.
Yep.
Right.
So it's our current year.
So Joseph made a good point in that the SATs, you take the pre-SATs, they teach you how to take a complicated test. Why, I mean, I understand your theory of teach them a more broad,
Right.
but if this test is, and a lot of kids struggle with
Yeah.
test taking, why don't we teach them?
So we do. So part of it is we do. So what we are doing this year is we're implementing something called FIIBs. Okay, and FIIB is a focused interim assessment, and it's basically a practice assessment for what SBAC looks like. Right? And let's say what I mean by focus is in 5th grade, if we're working on multiplying and dividing fractions, they'll get 10 to 12 questions that are asked just like on SBAC that they have to solve, and teachers get immediate feedback to see how kids do. So I don't want what I mean by that is I didn't want all of our focus to be teaching to the test, but let's expose kids to see what that assessment looks like.
Okay.
And then on Wednesdays, we can bring that data back together and talk about what did kids do really well, right? What are their strengths? What are some of their common misconceptions? Because if we know why they're missing problems, we can plan how to best support them. So we are, and that's one of the things that we're implementing this year, those interim assessments. Great question.
And then with our new accountability law coming out, the Oregon Department of Education will pick 4 interim assessments that school districts have to pick from those 4. And if EZCVM is not one of those 4, then we'd have to find a different one. But I'm certain that the SBAC interims will be one of those 4, and we do use those as well.
Yeah. So one of the things we're going to do later this year when we meet what we call our guiding coalitions, which is our each school has a representative each grade level, and we come together as a larger group. So all the 1st grade teachers will sit together, all the 3rd grade teachers will give a practice assessment, and the 3rd grade teachers at the 3 school will get together and talk about the results and see how our kids did and what are they doing well. What did your school do really well? Tell me more about how you taught it, so we can continue to learn from each other to get better results for our kids. Any other questions you guys may have?
I do have one other
Sure.
one, and I know that it can affect all grades, but I know in general it does quite frequently at the elementary level. Both in our community with a lot of different housing ways from apartments and stuff that have people that are coming and going on a consistently basis, not just staying here but leaving, coming and going. To me, I know for a while that it can be reflected that one year you could have 20 4th graders, for example, that all moved away that you just got them really good at it, and you now have 20 more new 4th graders, so we never got to help at all. But the score is reflected on our school district. Is there anything that we can do to, like, at least especially work with those kids to help them to get by, at least by the end of the year, that they are somewhat more caught up than they might have been?
Yeah, so that's why we have these benchmarks, so we
Yeah.
can determine the skills the kids have and don't have. So when we analyze our data, some of the things I'm most concerned about, if kids that have been in our system for quite some time, those are the ones we really want to make sure are being successful. If they're not, there's things that are going on in our system that we can help support. But yeah, if you look at the elementary level, there are a lot of walk to intervention time that we can give kids additional time and support. And I know at the high school level, they've got extended blocks on certain days where they have like 90-minute blocks. And that time is built in to give kids extra help in areas that they need support. Awesome. Great sharing with you guys all. Thank you again.
very much. Moving on to 8.3, policies from the, 8.2, data annual report from Arthur Academy.
They're going to transfer to.
It's a beautiful picture on the cover. I'm looking at the report on mine. I was commenting on the pictures there that they took for the Arthur Academy picture.
It would be scary if that was live right
Okay, can you hear us?
now. It's covered in snow. Please go. It was gorgeous. Just keep it away. Yeah. Or at least let us all get home first.
So can you hear us?
Hello? Feels like you guys are having a board meeting with me and mine.
Can you type them a note and say, like, is your mute? I don't know. Should we move to 8.3 and then come back to 8.2 so we can keep moving?
Did you go over policy?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can. We will come back to this one. 8.3, policies from the policy committee. 8.31, EB, safety program.
Just look at them.
Is that your freedom?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. It would be your third in adopting.
Just make sure you don't have to say it.
Are you good with them?
I'm good with it.
Yeah, the only change was safety officer. from
Safety officer,
superintendent, that's it.
superintendent, yes.
Yep, I'm fine.
Okay.
8.4, or are we just going?
8.32, DBA budget committee, DBEA budget committee.
We just have to. And Joseph, by the way, is on this committee.
I'm good with the changes. Is the board good with that? Okay. IIA 8.33, instructional materials.
Just accepted all of them as
This
being.
is proposed.
Yeah. Is this our third read of this?
Oh, she can hear us now?
Do you want to go ahead and do the 4 one? And
Yeah.
be done with
Yeah,
this
let's
stuff?
get through the last one.
Changes were made by OSBA to make it a little bit stricter on directory of information, so we just followed that.
Okay.
For specific reasons.
Perfect.
So they can hear us. Because we're emailing her.
Oh, they can hear us,
Yeah.
but
But we can't hear them. Well, they're on mute right now.
Oh, okay.
We'll see if they can hear us.
And we finish up one more before we get back to there, because we got 8.34, JOA director.
Oh, we just
So
did
this
that.
is
We did it
without
Oh, I'm
yours,
sorry, I
right?
didn't hear that. Okay,
sorry.
I missed it.
Sorry,
Yeah, you wanna-
everybody agrees with it.
She's just saying it got changed to be a little more
Oh,
stricter.
I'm sorry, I thought it was the other one she was referring to.
Think of another trend.
Okay. I believe.
So you need to accept the promotion. She could like.
tricky,
to promote
and
it
we do this
to
halfway virtual hybrid. She did come to Cabot and presented, and she did a really nice job.
We'll give that a couple of minutes here, if not, then maybe remove it and bring it back later.
Yeah, there's technical difficulties.
Yeah. I think so.
Make like 4 members to try to do that. At least talk about it.
Yeah.
We could do that, do you wanna do that?
Okay.
We could also do cell phone speaker, just so you guys can hear, put it right there. Yeah.
I'm not sure how to do that.
Yeah. Okay, 8.4, OSB elections. I think the elections are pretty, there's only one person running for the North Coast region official ballot, and there's one person running for the Legislation Policy Committee position 14.
And Greg is currently, right, he's the current, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
he's a really nice guy.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure how this works exactly.
I'm not either.
Do we individually
There's only-
vote?
On these ones, you'll just vote on the next page.
On the action, we do the action. We don't, it's just us discussing right now, you don't,
Okay.
you'll take action later.
Okay.
So we could go on to 8.5 then.
Okay, no, we're gonna,
No.
So those would be
Oh,
voted
did we
on,
get
right?
not yet,
Oh.
we'll vote it later.
Mm.
For action items. Yes. Oh, she says chat's disabled, she can't talk to you.
Chat is tabled on our end.
Yeah. She can't.
Yeah, we just kind of keep moving forward. So I think we probably should just move along.
Should we just remove it and then have it come back at a later date?
I think so, I think that'd be the best.
We're really close, you say?
Okay.
Can we put her on speakerphone and just?
That's what we're gonna try to do.
She'll at least be able to talk.
She's been really responsive in email, it's just the chat's not working, so she said the chat's disabled for her. These are coming on ring.
That's why I'm promoting her to panel since she's rejecting it.
Oh. So if we tell her to accept it, does she not see it?
We
Can we
did tell
just
her.
move
Oh,
to
but if her
table it?
chat's not working, she can't see it.
She can see that, she can send the chat, but I'm sending that chat that she's in that chat.
Yeah.
Oh.
Can we move to table it and then?
Yeah, come back a
Come
later date.
back to it?
Wait, here she is.
Here she is.
Okay, oh, there you go. Let's start. See, it's because you guys said that.
Is it working?
Okay, I'm gonna put you on speaker.
Hi,
Hello.
Hi.
let me leave this audio.
You're on speakerphone and we can hear you.
Okay, sorry, I was trying to, I unmuted, but I couldn't get it to work on the computer end. Good evening, St. Helens School Board. My name is Rashana O'Brien and I'm the principal of Arthur Academy. I'm here tonight to present our annual report from the 24-25 school year. This is our cute school in the winter with all that snow. We are up on Pittsburgh Road. We're a highly successful public charter school, and we're sponsored by the St. Helens School District. We believe every single student, regardless of ethnicity, parental income, learning difference, culture, or native language, will become a fluent reader and will master the academic and intellectual skills necessary to succeed at the next level of schooling. There's our motto and our core values as well. We could do the next slide, thanks Ed. Last year, we had a teaching staff of 15 full-time employees, 11 teachers, 2 support staff that do recess and lunch, me, the administrator, and then 1 office coordinator. And then in our central office, we have my executive director, business director, and a bookkeeper, and they work out of our central office in Portland. Our enrollment for last year, in the fall, we had an enrollment of 161 students for K through 5, and by spring, we had 153 students. Of the 8 students, half of them moved and the other half transferred to neighborhood schools within the district. And then we had 13 on the wait list last year. And just like the district, the St. Helens School District, we give the Oregon State Assessment Test as well. So this was our math scores for last year. This is the average scale score. The blue is the district, and then the green is Arthur Academy students. And this is the same test that's given to 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders, and this is for the language arts portion of the test. The blue being the St. Helens School District, and then the green being Arthur Academy. And the science test was just given to the 5th graders at Arthur Academy, and these are the average scale scores for that test. And then, again, like the district, we do the EZCBM. We do the test twice each year, once in the fall and once in the spring. So we've already done our fall for this year. And this is from last year, the spring result from last year. So we had a little over 75% of kinders that were in the 40th or above percentile on their math EZCBM. And this is for the EZCBM reading at or above 40 percentile for the spring of last school year. And then for Ever English Learner students, at Arthur Academy, we have 3 currently, or 3 last year. 1 kinder, 1 4th grade, 1 5th grade. And then each spring we also sent out a parent survey just of the level of satisfaction with Arthur Academy, and we had 97% highly satisfied, and then barely satisfied at 3%. And another question on the survey is if they would want their children to return to Arthur Academy, and we had 100% say yes. And if they did not attend Arthur Academy, 49% of them would go to the neighborhood school, and homeschool, private school, and other charter schools are also broken down too.
I love that picture.
There you go. Thank you for listening. Does anyone have any questions?
I do, Principal O'Brien. Do Arthur Academy teachers attend the same district training as our neighborhood schools?
No, they do not. We have our own training that we do within our organization. There's 6 Arthur academies. All right, thank you for listening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. I don't, I get it, but I understand.
8.5, Carver Model of Policy Governance. This is something I'd like to bring up at the work session. It's a Carver model on how to do policy governance. It was kind of set up for chief executive officers, but I think it'll fit the board of directors versus superintendent. It establishes appropriate relationships between everybody, and there's 10 principles that it's built on. So I'd really like to discuss this at our next work session and see what we think about it.
Changes the way that
Change it to fit how it fits our board.
communications
Yes.
happen between
Yes.
board members and the superintendent. A small book.
Yeah.
That's something that we can get all of us to have information on before we get there, so.
For sure.
Sure. It's recommended to me by an outside person. Okay, hang on one second there. Oh, there's Mr. Fields. Okay. Okay, are we ready? Okay. We will now hold a board hearing on complaints filed against Director Russell related to alleged comments made by Director Russell during the September 24th, 2025 board meeting regarding alleged missing district funds and allegations that the Teacher and Learning Development Department used district funds to fly first class and fund a trip to Lincoln City. The scope of this hearing is limited to whether Director Russell's comments during the September 24, 2025 board meeting violated district policy. I may stop any questions or remarks that fall outside this established scope. The board will be hearing from complainants and Director Russell this evening. After we hear the presentations, we will hold a vote on how to respond to these complaints. Each participant will be given 10 minutes to present before the board. After each participant's time has expired, they'll be asked to end their session. Participants are not use their allotted time, but such time will be forfeited and may not be used by another party. We'll start with the complaints, and then Director Russell will present. If any participant does not make an appearance at the hearing, they may have a previously submitted statement read on their behalf. No witnesses may be called. After the participants' presentations are complete, the board will have an opportunity to ask the participants questions before the board deliberates. Parties are asked to remain professional and refrain from personal attacks. Members of the audience are to remain quiet. Any audience member yelling, shouting, or being disruptive will be asked to stop and may be assessed further sanctions up to and including a request for the person to leave the meeting. Such a warning will not count against the presenter's time. Additionally, as board chair, I have the authority to establish order in this meeting and may do so by reserving the right to impose any sanction deemed necessary for violating the ground rules set for this hearing, up to and including a request for any participant or audience member to leave. Parties who engage in personal attacks will be asked to stop. Such warning will not count against the presenter's time. The following ground rules will be enforced during this hearing. Participants must address their presentation to the board and remain on a previously stated topic of complaints for this hearing. New complaints regarding the events that occurred outside the scope of this complaint are outside the scope of this hearing. Any participant making a new complaint will be asked to stop. Participants will address the board as a whole, and they may not direct questions to individual board members or parties. Participants will observe time limits and respect the timekeeper's notice, and the time has concluded. All participants will speak in a respectful tone and volume. No personal attacks will be allowed. Board members will reserve their questions for the question and answer period after the party's been presented to the board. As board chair, I will keep the time, and all parties will respect my timing. Complainants shall present their case first, and complainants may decide among themselves who present first. And does the parties have any questions before we proceed? Okay. I ask, and I'm not sure how we want to start. So we have.
Sure. Thank Board Chair. 2 of the complainants submitted written statements, and the district asked that I read them.
Okay.
So there are 3 complainants. If the 3rd complainant wishes to go first, then
Why don't we?
Hi, thank you for listening to me tonight. My name is Christine Woodard. I am the Chief Financial Officer for the St. Helens School District. I'm committed to providing the St. Helens School District, board, and the public with the most transparent and clear financial reports possible. I welcomed the opportunity at the September 24th board meeting to discuss potential improvements to our monthly financial reporting format. During this discussion, several unverified operational claims were introduced regarding the use of district funds for travel, staffing, and other expenses. My primary concern is ensuring that all discussions involving the operation and performance of specific departments or staff adhere strictly to Board Policy KL, public complaints. Policy KL clearly states the board will not hear complaints against employees in a session open to the public. To maintain a focus on constructive governance and to protect the integrity of our staff and processes, I strongly encourage that any concerns about district financial operations be directed to appropriate administration for proper investigation and review before being introduced in a public forum. I stand ready to address all legitimate questions and provide detailed documentation to administration regarding our financial practices. I take my responsibilities within the district and to this community very seriously. My goal remains to ensure full accountability and transparency in all financial matters so we can continue to do great work for our students. Thank you.
Good evening, Board Chair, board members. I'm Elliot Field. I'm an attorney for the district, as I mentioned. I was asked to read the statements of 2 of the complainants that had been previously submitted. The first from Lisa Tyler, former Director of Teaching and Learning and Director of Elementary Schools. Chair Hjort and members of the board, thank you for allowing my statement to be read into the record. I am submitting this in lieu of attending in person so that the focus remains on truth, clarity, and the values of integrity and respect that should guide the district's work. On September 24, board member Rochelle Russell publicly stated that district funds connected to teaching and learning in special education were, quote, missing. She further suggested that district staff flew first class and used district funds for a retreat in Lincoln City. When questioned by the superintendent, Ms. Russell admitted that she was, quote, going off of what I'd been told, end quote. These remarks were not only inaccurate, but deeply harmful. They called into question the integrity of a department built on service, transparency, and student success. The Teaching and Learning Department was created to support teachers, reduce their burdens, and elevate instruction across the district. Every position and activity was funded through approved and audited grants. No first-class tickets were ever purchased with district funds. The Lincoln City retreat was privately paid for by myself and Shirley Brock. Not a penny of district money was used. Beyond the facts, this incident has caused personal and professional harm. It has cast doubt on the dedicated educators who worked tirelessly to serve students and staff. It eroded public trust and painted a false picture of management where none existed. As someone who led this department with heart and accountability, I was deeply saddened by the reckless ways rumors were aired publicly without even a single phone call to verify the truth. I am not seeking conflict. I am seeking truth and fairness. I ask that this board take steps to correct the public record and to ensure that board members use their platforms responsibly. Facts matter, trust matters, the reputation of those who serve our students matters. My request is simple, that the board acknowledge the truth, that no money was missing, that no first-class travel was funded by the district, and that our retreat was privately paid for, and that you formally address the harm caused by the false statements made in a public meeting. I also ask that this statement be read aloud in full and entered into the record as part of the hearing. Thank you for your attention, for upholding the values of truth and accountability that our students and staff.
Please put the sign down. Excuse me. Proceed, sir. Sorry for interruption.
Respectfully submitted, Lisa Tyler. The third of the complainants, Brooke Vellante, also submitted a written statement. Chair Yort and members of the board, thank you for allowing this statement to be entered into the record. I am submitting it in writing to ensure clarity, respect, and accuracy. On September 24th,
Excuse me. Please put the sign down. Last time, or you're going to be asked to leave. Please continue.
statements were made in a public board meeting claiming that teaching and learning in special education funds.
Excuse me. You may leave, please.
I didn't do anything, Reed.
You may leave, please.
I didn't do anything, Reed.
Flipping me off. You may leave. Thank you. Please leave.
Transparency for teachers. Show the documents.
Leave, please.
Shame on you.
Leave, please. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please proceed, Mr. Fields.
On September 24th, statements were made in a public board meeting claiming that teaching and learning in special education funds were missing, that first-class travel was paid for by the district, and that district funds were used for a retreat in Lincoln City. When questioned, it was acknowledged these statements were based on unverified information. This created confusion in the community and called into question the integrity of staff who served the district with diligence, transparency, and a deep commitment to students and educators. To state the facts clearly, no funds were missing. Independent audits found no misuse of funds. All grant narratives and expenditures aligned to the district's strategic plan and were approved through state and district processes. No first-class travel was funded by the district, and the Lincoln City retreat was privately paid for. These facts are verified in documentation submitted to the board. The teaching and learning team worked collaboratively, transparently, and in alignment with district priorities to support staff and improve student outcomes. Effective instructional leadership requires ongoing learning. If the teaching and learning department is expected to lead instructional improvement and support educators, it must participate in professional development to build that capacity. That is standard in surrounding districts and statewide. Attending professional learning ensures leaders bring back current research and practices that directly strengthen instruction and benefit students. In addition to correcting the record regarding these statements, I respectfully request corrective action regarding the process that allowed unverified financial allegations to be shared without clarification, to be shared publicly without clarification. I understand that meetings move quickly. However, when inaccurate information about district finances is allowed to stand unchallenged, it can unintentionally spread misinformation and undermine public trust. I ask that the board correct the record, reaffirm the financial claims made publicly must be evidence-based, and reinforce protocols to prevent similar situations going forward. This is not about assigning blame. It is about upholding accuracy, fairness, and the integrity of the district and the staff who serve it. Thank you for your time and attention. I am proud of the work our team accomplished in service to students, staff, and the strategic direction of this district. My hope is that this process strengthens, reinforces factual communication, and models the accountable leadership our community expects and deserves. Respectfully, Brooke Vellante.
Russell.
Okay.
I got the time started over here, by the way, sorry.
I can sit here.
She can sit there, can't she?
Oh, she can?
I'm okay
She
sitting
can
here.
remain.
Yeah, that's what I thought, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I did not run for school board to fight with anyone. I ran because families, students, and educators in this district asked for oversight, transparency, and change, and I believed and still believe that our community deserves honesty and accountability from the people they elect. From my first day on the board, staff and teachers came to me with concerns about spending, travel, and transparency. Many told me they did not feel safe asking these questions themselves because they feared retaliation. They asked me to do it for them. And when the people closest to our students feel afraid to speak, oversight is not just appropriate, it becomes necessary. And as an elected official, I have a responsibility to listen. This is why in July, I submitted my first, Christy, this is for you, hon. I submitted my first written request for financial records privately. Those records for travel, reconciliation, reimbursements, and employee credit card statements. These are basic oversight documents. I was told by the superintendent that an individual board member could not request these records. That was not accurate. Board
I
policy,
need to stop you, please,
ABA.
because you made reference to records requests that we did at a board meeting on September 24th, and the motion died on the floor. Correct?
No.
It did.
Sir, I'm talking about an email I sent.
But you can't go outside our scope and
This
you're
is,
attacking the
they need
superintendent.
to, they asked if I followed policy. I am showing them that I followed policy.
They aren't asking, you're responding to the 3 complaints against you.
I'm responding to the complaints that asked if I
Sorry,
followed policy.
Mr. Fields?
Board Member Russell, the scope of the complaint hearing is related to statements made by you, alleged to be made by you at the September
That I did not follow policy.
at the September 24th board meeting, and whether those statements, whether they were
Sir,
made.
in the complaint, if we pull the complaint up, it specifically says from Christy that I did not follow policy. Christy just said she did not follow policy. I am showing you, sir, that I followed policy not once, not twice, but 3 times. And you're telling me I can't let the community know that I did follow policy?
Board Chair, could you please reread the scope of the hearing?
Here's the complaint. You let her talk about, you just let Christy talk about my not following policy.
The statements made by Ms. Woodard related to the complaint, the remarks made by you in September 24th. You have statements related to the remarks that you made in September 24th.
I'm showing how I followed policy, which is what was in her complaint.
I think that for purposes of the hearing, please focus in on what the remarks were related at the September 24th hearing, or September 24th board meeting. If there is, Board Member Russell, some background to provide to color it, by all means, please share that, and then please focus on
That is what I'm doing. That's exactly what I'm doing.
Focus on
Okay,
what's
so
related.
thank you. So I requested that BBA confirms that any board member that requests, any individual board member, it says, any board member may request district financial documents, and it does state individual. When the records were not provided, I followed proper procedure, and I asked them to be on the agenda. I submitted the request on September 15th, September 22nd, and when the agenda was published, it was not there. Then on September 24th, during a public meeting, the superintendent told me to make my request public. That moment, when I was denied documents in private and pushed to ask them publicly, is what led to us being here tonight. Not misconduct, not disrespect, just oversight. After that meeting, I asked for a written policy and procedural governing and disciplining process. There is no board policy for this, and there is no administrative regulation. There is no written or adopted procedure. Without policy, it's impossible to know what to prepare for my defense. Under Robert's Rules, Chapter 61, which governs disciplinary hearings, the accused has the right to know what the charges are in advance to present the full uninterrupted defense. Relevant remarks cannot be limited unless they are disorderly, and disciplinary procedures cannot be created ad hoc without written rules. My statements fall squarely within those protections. Before tonight, a review of the board handled other KLR complaints, and it is important to highlight the difference in the process. First, the board determines whether investigation is warranted. Second, if the board conducts and refers to an investigation. And third, after receiving an investigation report results, the board decides what action, if any, is warranted. Only then, if needed, the board will hold a hearing to clarify issues. This process was not used for others. They had the investigation first, hearing second. In my case, the board did not allow that sequence. There was no investigation, no findings, and no report. The board moved directly to a hearing to determine what the alleged violation might do. That is inconsistent with the KLAR and creates an appearance of an ad hoc process rather than a policy-driven one. I also need to address the role of our legal counsel. Over the last several weeks, I learned that many of the emails I received from the superintendent and board chair were developed with attorney involvement. Last night, the first time I learned how this procedure tonight would go, and the hearing was shaped by our attorney guidance. That matters for two reasons. First, the district has spent thousands of dollars on attorney time to draft emails, guide internal communications, and construct a process. Money that could have been avoided entirely had the district simply provided the oversight documents that I requested in July privately. Second, when the same attorney advising the administration is also shaping the process being used to evaluate an elected board member, it becomes difficult to view this process as neutral or balanced. Fairness requires consistency, and when the process changes depending on who it involves, it is a valid concern. On October 27th, I submitted a formal request for procedural fairness. I asked 4 questions. Number 1, what policy governs this process? 2, what am I being accused of? 3, what rule or statute am I alleged to have violated? And 4, what documents will be used as evidence? On October 29th, I received a written response stating from board chair that they would determine the issue I broke at the hearing. A process where a hearing comes first and an alleged violation is decided afterwards is like being arrested, put on trial, then told what your charges are. That is not due process. That is not transparency. And it is not consistent with the ethical standards of public governance. I also did not receive the district's evidence until late Friday night, just days before this hearing. The packet contained screenshots with Venmo receipts, no dates, no receipts, no reimbursement records from the school district, no verification, no grant information, and no documentation that answers concerns teachers raised. Screenshots do not resolve public perception. To do that, the solution is simple. Provide receipts, not consequences for the person who asked. Perception also matters. When a staff sees these photos posted online of trips that they feel like were in first class, it affects their morale. These teachers were not gossiping. They were overwhelmed in their classrooms. They were dealing with student injuries and staff injuries, inadequate supports, and unsafe ratios. They weren't looking for scandal. They were looking for help. And if these trips were grant funded, just say so. They asked superintendent and was denied that information. Teachers have asked these questions and were never given answers. And when people on the front lines don't feel safe asking, oversight becomes necessary. That's why they voted for a board. For me, as a parent whose child was harmed in this district, protection does not begin after something goes wrong. Protection begins in the budget, in staffing, classroom supervision, transparency. The concerns did not originate with me. They came from educators. The words missing, unaccounted for, and moved from our accounts came from them. I repeated their concerns because I was asked to do so. I was told by the superintendent to publicly bring them up at the September meeting. She knew what my answers would be. It's also important to clarify that I never accused anyone of theft, misuse, or wrongdoing. The complaints claiming I implied misconduct are not accurate. I repeated verified concerns to oversight, to request oversight, not to assign blame. The hearing sets a precedence, and if a board member can face discipline for asking oversight questions, it blocks the most basic duty of every school board member in Oregon: fiscal accountability to the public. Oversight is not misconduct. It is the job the voters elected us to do. It is their tax dollars. We have the right to ask their questions for them. I need to address neutrality. There have been statements from board members describing me as gone off the rails. The public comments implying that I'm targeting simply for asking questions. Oversight is not targeting. Following board policy is not misconduct. Comments like that, whether public, private, or in writing, make it hard to view this as a neutral process. Those statements will be addressed through the appropriate legal channels, but they show that this process is not, is not a fair process. I also want the public to see what happens here tonight. This is a public meeting because I asked for it to be public. I asked for this, for all of you to see this and know what your tax money is doing. If this hearing is public, because this hearing, it belongs to the community. I have one.
Yep, you can finish, please.
Thank you. If disciplinary action results from a board member asking for public financial records on behalf of the community, staff, and taxpayers, it sends a chilling message to every educator, parent, and future board member that speaking up comes with consequences. And we all have to ask ourselves, why? If a board blocks to elected member from performing the most basic part of our job, asking for public financial information, then we should all be deeply concerned. Because without oversight, there will be no accountability and no safeguard for our students, staff, and taxpayers. Teachers have told me what is happening to you is exactly why we don't feel safe speaking for ourselves. But my paycheck is tied to the retaliation, and yours, Rochelle, is not. If a board member can face consequences asking financial questions, what chance does teachers and staff members have? If consequences are decided tonight, I want the community to hear this clearly. I followed policy. I brought up your concerns. I asked because educators asked me to. I followed procedure and I acted in good faith. Thank you.
We'll now allow the board to ask questions of the parties. Any questions?
Rochelle, can you remind me when you formally requested information about the budget?
I formally requested to superintendent in July.
In an email?
I did. Okay. It should have been in your packet. I really feel like that packet should be available to the audience since this is a public meeting.
Yes. Mr. Fields, can we ask a question? The supporting documentation that was provided by the complainants, is that made to the public?
It's submitted as a public record. If somebody wants to make a public record request for it, they may.
Okay.
And so my emails would as well.
The board's been provided copies of everything of those too.
And you need to apologize to her for the way you're
speaking to her. Please.
Fuck off.
You can
I'm pissed.
Leave.
I am pissed at the way you guys are treating this woman.
Leave, please.
No.
Leave, please.
Anybody touches me, they get a broken nose.
Leave, please.
I'm not going to leave. You can fuck off, Reed. I am not happy. I should be at home.
Please leave.
I had surgery yesterday. I am here to support this powerful human being over here because you guys are fucking her over. I am fucking angry, and I am not going to shut up. I am not going to fucking leave.
Yeah, we don't need to hear all that. You should, please. Tone down the comments a little bit.
It is quite actually interesting to have an adult while I'm sitting here at the age of 17 years old. It's interesting to watch, sir.
there's a lot of emotions happening for a lot of people, including for Rochelle, and I understand where you're coming from, I do.
And
There's
you're
a
part
lot-
of it, though.
There's a lot of stuff that is going on that not everybody is privy to everything, and quite frankly, I feel.
Is this part of the hearing here?
Let's focus on, if there are board questions for either board member Russell or the complainant who's
Okay,
present.
is there any further questions?
Is that helpful, board member Russell?
Thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions to ask? No? Okay, the hearing is now concluded and the board will begin its deliberations. Mr. Fields, do you have the packets where we have the options we're supposed to review and all that good stuff? We were allowed to take those out.
Sure, I can direct it to you. I mean, as the complaints were written, it was related to
Are you stating what policy because I never was told what policy I wrote.
part of the fact-finding process occurs in this hearing as far as submittals from the complainants and responses from board member Russell.
So I literally was I'm holding a hearing, and then you're gonna decide what to charge me with?
It's not what, no one's charging
No,
you
but
with anything.
you are. You're gonna discipline me on something that you're deciding during this hearing. Is that accurate?
The authority of the board to vote related to a sitting board member is very limited and circumscribed. So I wouldn't characterize it as discipline.
Still punishing her for something that shouldn't punish her.
I'm going to focus my responses to the board members and direct it through the board chair. In short, based upon the information that was provided by the complainants, the information that was provided by board member Russell, the question that's before the board is whether the complaint that board member Russell violated a board policy. Board members have access to varying board policies, whether it fits into one of those board policies, rises to the level of a violation. That's the question that's before the board.
Personally, I feel like if requests were submitted for public information and not followed through, then, and told to ask in a public meeting, the verbiage of it, missing funds, the allegations that involves, I think that's the only issue for me. It is not that, if she's been told multiple times to ask different ways and she's followed through with different ways, when does she get a chance to get that information that she's asked for? The word missing, and she has clarified maybe missing is not the right word. Maybe that's not the right verbiage. It's not trying to accuse our Christy of like hiding money, but rather she's wanting clarification of it.
I have mad respect for you, Christy. Always have.
Okay, come on, we're staying on topic here, please.
I am.
You're not, because
Well,
you're
so-
addressing a complaint after all the time.
Okay, so I think that the process that she has followed, we are all new, with the exception of you, and she has followed the process in which she's been told. And I know that we're not supposed to ask our superintendent, as we, the board, are your employer, we shouldn't be asking you how to do things. But not every policy and procedure makes sense. And if she is looking for answers to something and has gone to multiple processes to find them, then the only thing that I find at fault is the word missing. And honestly, I feel like we can go on the record as saying that missing is not the right word, and she has said missing might not be the right word to have used. That's my opinion.
Any-
So,
Sir Edwards, would you come up for a moment, please, sir?
Yeah, so.
Sorry.
I think we have to stop the meeting to be able to
Yeah.
do this the right
Okay,
way.
can we take a quick adjourn?
Yeah.
We're back in order, in session. Okay. So is there any further discussion on the KLR complaints against Director Russell? No? Guess we're on to action items. Oh, I'm sorry. It's point 9. Sorry, I didn't see it. Financial reports.
Well, Board Chair.
Oh, sorry. I'm messing up again.
No, quite all right. If there are no other further questions for the board, then the hearing portion of I would encourage you to close the hearing portion of it. If the board is moving decisions or motions related to this board hearing to board action items down the line, that's fine.
So can we just make a motion to either accept or not right now during this portion of it?
As I read it in the agenda, the action items are subsequent to for subsection 9. So all you would do, Board Chair Gord, is close the hearing portion and put off action until the action items as reflected in the agenda.
Okay. If there's no further questions then, I will close the hearing and put all the action items until later. And now we'll go to the financial report. No, I hear you. Good evening.
Good evening, again, Christine Woodard, Chief Financial Officer. So we shared with you we shared with you the 24-25 and 25-26 updated financial reports covering the month of October. And if you noted that the 24-25, which again, we are working to get that closed out and audited by the end of the month. So, but still a couple things in process. So right now, the estimated ending fund balance for 24-25 is at $1,147,094, which is an increase of $56,000. So every month seems a little bit better, and projections are a little bit better for that ending fund balance. So I don't expect that to change too much. That being said, the 25-26 then also increased by about the same amount. So right now, estimated ending fund balance for 25-26 is $1,056,946. That is still only 2.6% of our budget. So the ending fund balance, which again, reminding you that board policy is 5%, that still only leaves us at 2.6%. So we're short about $967,000 of meeting that goal of the of that board policy of a 5% balance.
But we're way better than where we were to have any money ending at the end of this year, correct? Okay, that's
Correct.
good.
So cautiously optimistic, as I said last week.
But we're gonna make it through this school year.
We should.
Yeah.
At this point in time, yeah, I'm not worried about that.
Okay.
Thank you. Next.
So I do want to make a couple of comments about that. So again, 2.6 versus 5% for an ending fund balance. And, you know, we're always looking kind of 3-ish years at a time. So last year, this year, and next year. And I just want to bring to your attention some things that, information that we've received from, you know, partners regarding PERS, from ODE. And so I was at a conference last week, and we have some great partners in Piper Sandler who provide us with some great PERS estimates. And I hope you're sitting down. It is possible that we could see a 30% increase to PERS next year. That, at an early estimate of cost, is almost $3 million.
Wow.
That the employees will have to pick up, or that we will be?
That we will be picking up.
And how much did you say that will come to?
Right now, 30% would be approximately $3 million.
That's every school district.
And yes, we are not the only ones. So,
Right.
so just a little brief piece about that is this has to do with site accounts that are ending in 2027. I will say that some people might be thinking, well, why did we do those side accounts? Those side accounts saved St. Helens School District about $20 million. So they were still worth it. Unfortunately, we're coming to the end in not a great financial time where the earnings aren't as expected. And so we're having to true up those final side accounts that are ending in 2027. And so we're having to make sure that those are all squared away. And that's where that increase is coming from. We'll know more, I'm hoping in December. They'll have some new estimates out, the PERS board will, and I will share those with you as soon as I have them.
Do we have any ideas of how we're going to do that? Is there anything that, I know we're just now hearing this, but have you guys floated any ideas for that at all?
Well, we continue to talk about what next year will look like as far as, reductions and what reductions will need to be made. So, I mean, black and white is, we have to reduce expenses to meet that need. So I'm hoping that we'll learn more and that it will become more optimistic than 30%. I'm hoping it won't be that high. This last year, it was a 14% increase for us, which was very significant.
I'm sorry,
so
how much did you say?
14%. The other thing you may have heard that ODE is experiencing revenue shortfall estimates. So they're estimating lower revenue than expected. And so we have been in works with them, with the OASBO organization that I'm part of, with COSA, School Administrator Organization, to help them identify areas that we could be looking at cuts. So they've made a recommendation to the legislature. Those recommendations, big if, the legislature were to take ODE's recommendations, could result in reductions to the High School Success Grant and the SIA grants.
What about the emergency fund? Is that anyone?
They're talking about that. Again, so ODE was asked to provide, what would you do if we told you to cut 5%? And so they actually did a 2.5% and a 5%. Like, what would that look like? And what would you cut? And so ODE presented that recommendation, their recommendation to the legislature last week. So what the legislature decides to do with those recommendations remains to be seen. So we'll find out more as the small session starts.
We have policy supporters in OSBA and
Yes.
COSA that are strongly recommending that that's set aside for education. It's lottery dollars. People know when they purchase that was it 16% of the lottery, or 18, 16 or 18, I don't remember. But the percentage goes to that pot. So it's not something that's a one-time thing. It actually replenishes every time somebody purchases a lottery ticket. Go buy lottery tickets. Lottery ticket. So we're hoping that, and OSBA and COSA have strong policy people that'll be in there arguing and asking for them to bail us out of this. Yeah. And I'll be right there with them.
And the last thing I'd like to say is thank you. I understand you guys looked at some board reports at the conference that you were at and got some ideas for some ways that we can improve the financial reports, which is what we want to do. So I will be working on those to have those ready for you by the January board meeting.
And we are going to be.
Rochelle's not there. But Rochelle was not there, so I feel
I was able to go on and get the documents though from it.
Oh, okay.
And the listening and learning this week and next week with secondary and elementary. Christy's going to join me to kind of talk about this, and we're going to get some feedback and priorities. Then we'll do the budget roadshows together before we start creating a budget and making cuts. Yeah.
Because some schools get 5 pages of, and that's just not how things have been done here. So for people who don't know what we're talking about, we had the OSBA training conference this last weekend, and some schools have financial reports that are quite extensive. And this is nothing against you, but when we want to know financial information, it's already provided. So there isn't really a question about, oh, should I ask for this because I don't know, because we don't always know. The school board budget or the school district budget is insane. And very complicated, ChatGPT couldn't even simplify it for me. And so to have these documents already listing out all of these things, it takes away a step of who do I ask for what?
And to be fair, the couple of documents are the ones you're already supplying
Yes.
us. And then we also are gonna add enrollment because that wasn't in those documents either because enrollment is our revenue. Correct. So we need to be monitoring enrollment alongside the budget. So I just want to be clear, so the budgets we are supporting, and it was a school district that had gone bankrupt. So before we go bankrupt, right, we need to be
Kind of let us know.
all of
Yeah.
us looking at it together and getting our community involved too in those, like what's our priorities, right? What are our things that have a strong return on investment that we love? Yeah.
Do you guys have any additional questions for me?
No. Anybody have any more questions for me, Christy?
No.
Thank you.
No.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christy.
Oh, sorry, we're having a sidebar about the Ashland School District. That's the school district that she's talking about that went bankrupt
And
and
took a, what was it, a $5 million loan in a
Just
tan?
save them.
with a 5%
Yeah.
interest rate
Yeah.
just
You don't have
to
to do
keep
that.
their doors open. And they got an $890,000 anonymous donation, which if anyone out there wants to donate that. But they're,
Yeah, say that one.
yeah, right.
They have really pulled it together.
They have, yeah. Like they made national news.
He was on the Kelly Clarkson show.
Yes,
Oh.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, sorry.
I'm just getting all backtracked.
Sorry about that.
Okay, move 10.0, action items. 10.1, KL complaints during the public hearing. A review of the public hearing. Is there any recommendations or a motion?
So the way this is written, this is on all the ones we received tonight?
This is the most, yes,
Just that one.
yes.
Yeah, just the public hearing.
Regarding Melody Helens or?
No,
No.
this is Director Russell.
Oh, Director Russell.
Yeah, I gotta be looking for.
This is the only one we're in public.
Sorry.
No, they're good.
Just checking.
So these are lumped together.
No. I
Yes,
thought they
so
were.
they were all lumped together, and Elliot said that we can break them up if we want, or we can choose to,
That you only
Ex-
have one for the public.
Yeah, we only have one.
And then the next one that we break up.
So it's just the public one.
Yeah.
So the other
You
ones
do,
are just.
10.1, and then you're talking about 10.2 where we break them up.
You're in the executive session.
But there were 3 separate, so
Oh,
if you want
yeah.
to break them up for the
Right,
hearing,
so I
Michelle's hearing, you can, but that too.
Oh, okay, got it.
Just hear them all combined.
the public hearing, this is all about Michelle.
Yes.
Trying to make sure we're on the same page.
We were talking about Director Russell's public hearing.
There also is a recommendation of how to
Yep,
address them, but he said that we don't have to
okay,
address them that way.
okay.
So if
That's
we
good.
want to do them like it says, all as one, we can move to address them all as one, but choose our own word.
Okay. Is there,
Let's try ideas.
haven't heard a motion yet, so.
Trying to think of, make sure we say it right.
Yeah.
Honestly, I simply because I want verbiage to be struck from the record
Mhm.
of certain things. I don't particularly want any kind of disciplinary action, but I feel like we should be able to strike from the record certain verbiage used.
Okay.
So I don't know how to do that. Melody, do you have any guidance on that?
No, because I was trying to figure out how to reword this too. They don't really have the two right choices, but.
No.
So I have a question, okay. Can she allow us to have more days?
No, we have
Elliot
to,
was saying we need to do it today.
it has to be done.
Yeah. Timeline.
So,
Just so we could get the right word.
Okay, it says, in the event that the board action, the board can determine one of the following actions is appropriate. This is a non-exhaustive list, so we can choose our own appropriate action, which I feel like is just striking from the record certain verbiage. Like, right, like correcting what the word is saying. It's not correct. Okay, but I don't know how to make that motion. Okay. I move to substantiate the complaints based on a violation of BBF against board member Russell to delegate authority to the board chair to communicate a response based on the board's discussion in the November 12th, 2025 hearing.
Is there a second?
What?
Can you say that again?
I
Yeah.
don't know if I said it right, if I wrote it right.
It was just a second and then discuss, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But what are we, I'm trying to understand what you're saying.
Okay, so
Can you restate your motion?
I move to substantiate the complaints based on a violation of BBF against board member Russell and delegate authority to the board chair to communicate a response based on the board's discussion in the November 12th, 2025 hearing.
Is there a
My
second?
thoughts are on this.
Hold on.
So,
Just gotta wait till the
sorry.
Is there a second to that motion?
just so we can discuss it.
What happens if it's not seconded?
Then it falls, I would guess.
Yeah.
Then you don't discuss it.
Then you don't discuss it.
Then we would
Right,
discuss
then we
it.
don't discuss it at all. We don't.
Is there
So,
BBF?
yeah, maybe,
I second, so we can discuss.
okay.
Okay, so,
Hold on.
okay.
A motion's been made and it's been seconded to move to substantiate the complaints based on the violation of BBF against board member Russell and delegate authority to board chair to communicate a response on the board's decision in November 12th, 2025 hearing. Now we can discuss.
Okay, so in the event that we do substantiate it, there are a list of options, but it is a non-exhaustive list, and my recommendation is that we strike the word missing and correct that from the record. Money was not missing, the allegation was not what she was meaning to say. And she did try multiple times to get records for funds, and we are a new board, so I feel like that isn't something that I would like to see a disciplinary action for. But I also think that saying that, like, the other people have requested that the record be corrected, that no money was used for first class and beach trip information, so that is something that's easily corrected without any disciplinary action.
Okay,
Was
but
that
we're
proven
talking
document?
substantiate right now, right?
There were documents attached, there were
Yes.
But there wasn't like enough documents to, and I'm not saying that just because those documents aren't there, that this happened. I'm just saying this so that teachers can feel like if funds were spent more in travel than they were in getting bodies in their classrooms when they were drowning. And so the documents that I saw were like Venmo exchanges and nothing.
We're kind of past that now.
Yeah, point of order,
We got
the
it.
complaint,
Your point?
sorry, the
No,
complaint.
I'm accepting your point.
Outside the actual complaint.
But I'm sorry.
I accept your point, and it is outside.
But you're
The
saying
complaint.
that we're gonna strike a word that says, but we don't have the evidence
We
that.
haven't, I don't think we've got there yet.
Oh, I would.
That's what we're discussing,
Just
but
discuss.
I'm
Right, so
gonna
I'm
flip the
explaining
script a
why
little
it
bit.
wouldn't be, okay.
Because, I mean, if we substantiate a complaint, that means she did something wrong, Director Russell. If we don't, that means she didn't do something wrong, but we can correct the record. Am I wrong in my thinking?
We can say she didn't do anything wrong and also correct the record.
Yeah. Am I
I don't think,
crazy?
okay, but hold on, I
Yeah,
just
but-
wanna ask. when I made those statements that I had been told by public, I wonder how those statements are wrong. I really feel, hold up, I really feel that when anyone in the public comes to a board member and has asked for those specific things, I mean, I guess it wouldn't go public because it would have just responded to when I sent the first email out and this would not have happened. So I don't know. Never mind.
But statements were made
Because I was
with
supposed to.
unsubstantiated claims and made statements in public against people. So that's my dilemma that I'm having.
Right, that's the.
But we could have substantiated those
But
claims.
that's after the fact. That's kind of
Had
like
those things been
the dog
provided.
getting out, getting out the gate.
Well, okay, I wouldn't have had to say those things if the emails.
My
would
point
have
is
been
it probably
responded.
shouldn't have been said.
Or the emails should have been responded to.
Yeah, but still, you didn't have the information at the time to make those statements.
I did. I have to be able to ask for it.
Order. Come on, folks, we're trying to discuss and
We're
deliberate
trying to have
here.
like respectful
Yeah.
conversations.
But how am I supposed to get
Trying to
those
be
without
respectful.
asking for it? And then when I asked for it, it was said, why? Why do you want that?
But then that doesn't give you a clear road to make statements and tell people that funds are missing and.
I didn't say funds were missing. I said they felt that funds were missing. They felt that these things had been misplaced. They have a right to be heard for what they're talking about. These are teachers who saw these things.
So I guess we've got a motion. And any further discussion on the motion? And I'll call for a vote. I'll start with you, Director Helens.
I say no.
Okay. Director Walker?
Tough one for you.
It is.
Yeah, brand new.
Well, it's a tough one for all of us.
Do the motion again. Is that allowed?
No.
Yes, you can, because it was a long conversation.
Sure. The motion was made to move the complaints made against,
To substantiate.
to substantiate the complaints against, based on violation of board policy BBH, against Board Russell Member Russell, sorry, Rochelle, I'm getting nervous, and delegate authority to board chair to communicate a response on the board's decision in November 12th, 2025 hearing.
And then to strike the record.
Oh, and then also strike the record.
Yes.
Vice Chair Smith-Reed?
Yes.
Sorry?
Yes.
Okay. Director Russell, give you the opportunity if you want to vote or not.
I can vote?
Yeah, no.
I can ask you to vote, but you can substantiate, I think, you can't just abstain.
Oh.
Conflict? I just have to let you have the choice of doing that. No. Okay. And I'm a yes as well.
So that's where you would just, yeah.
Yeah. And the motion carries. Moving on to executive session actions on information discussed in executive session. How we break these up.
And do we have, we don't really have wording.
Can I say general topic? And not get in trouble?
Or can we say case number? I don't feel.
No, we gotta move on. We can discuss that after that. So 10.2, executive session actions on information discussed. Can I say the title of it? Board nomination?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kale complaint on board.
Yeah, Kale complaint made against the board on board nomination.
You guys all have it.
I move to take no action on the 2 submitted board vacancy public complaints to delegate authority to the board chair to respond to the complainants discussed in executive session.
Is there a
2 or
second?
3? Did you say two people?
These two to take action on the
one,
We're saying one.
Wait, he just said we're talking about
Four
four
nominations.
nominations, so we split it out.
Yeah.
We split it out, so.
No, just all of them, just one. It's just board nomination. That's it.
That's it.
You
So
can say that one first.
is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and been seconded to take no further action. There's no requirement the board conduct an investigation or hearing and may simply delegate the chair to draft a response if the board believes no further investigation or information is warranted. Is there any discussion?
I think with the amount of complaints that we had from the community and the uproar that we saw from the community, we owe them the respect to make sure this was done properly through a third-party investigator. That would be my thought.
Okay.
Just to, out of respect for the
I don't think you're supposed to discuss it.
No. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we're not, are we?
No, we
Oh,
have
I
a public
apologize.
hearing, you
Yeah.
can discuss the public hearing, but
Yeah.
you can't discuss executive
Hey,
session.
what's going on? Yeah. Okay. Yep. Sorry.
Sorry.
Director Killings, calling for vote.
I don't know which way you say it though, then, because I don't remember how you worded it.
Okay, can you reword it?
Yeah.
Can you reword it, because I want to make sure. I'm
Word it
saying
the way
yes
you
or
said
no.
it just now.
Yeah. A motion has been made and seconded to take no further action. There is no requirement that the board conduct an investigation or hearing and may simply delegate the chair to draft a response if the board believes that no further investigation or information is warranted.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, I had to reword that.
Yes.
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 Vice Chair Smith, Reed.
Yes.
Director Russell. And Chair York is a yes. And
Same motion.
motion passed, I'm sorry. I'm just pulling out the next paper. Okay, and now we're on to executive session action in regards to complaint on Helens. I'll make a motion on this one. Take no further action. If the board were not to take action on the complaint, the board should consider remind all board members of their responsibility under policy BBF to treat other board members, staff, and public with dignity and courtesy. Is there a second? Okay. Motion's been made and seconded for option one, take no further action. If the board were not to take any action on the complaint, the board should consider reminding all board members of their responsibilities under policy BBF to treat other board members, the superintendent, staff, and the public with dignity and courtesy. Is there any discussion on that one?
No discussion.
Oh, that's right, I'm sorry. Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm not
Sorry,
trying
I'll
to be
get
on
it out.
executive session.
I want to talk, so I'm sorry. And I'll go with Director Russell first.
Hold on.
I know, that's the wording every time.
Hold
It's
on,
like
so.
Yeah. I know it's really
Correct,
strange.
so I say correct, I.
Yes.
Yes.
I think yes.
I know, it's whether it's aye or yes.
I know, it's really weird.
I.
Okay.
Thank you.
Vice Chair Smith Reed.
Aye.
Director Walker.
Aye.
Director
And I
Killings.
will abstain.
Okay, and she's abstaining, and I'm an aye as well. Sorry, I just kicked you under the table. All right, one more. Executive session actions on information discussed against complaints against Vice Chair Smith Reed. Sorry, I'm still reading.
I do have a question before we do this one. We did 10.1 and voted, we did 10.2.
We're currently still on 10.2.
We're on 10.2 still.
We're on 10.2.
Can we say both are 10.2? That's what I meant.
They're all, yeah.
Okay, okay, that's all.
Unfortunately,
Okay, just
they're all
making
on
sure.
single one.
Just making sure we
Yep.
shouldn't have A, B, C, you know?
Right.
Okay, got it.
Because it was executive session.
I know, that we're having to have a session.
Okay. Is there a motion on this one?
They're also confusing.
I'll make a motion.
I move to take no action on the four public complaints against Vice Chair Reed Smith Reed. And to delegate authority to board chair to respond to complaints discussed in executive session.
I'll second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded that we take no further action.
No discussion.
Oh, that's right.
No discussion, I'm just looking.
Again.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Now I'm finding the language that you're talking. It's been moved and seconded to take no action on the 4 complaints against Vice Chair Smith-Reed and to delegate authority to board chair to respond to the complaints discussed in an executive session. Ooh, that was a lot. Director Killings?
Aye.
Director Walker? Director Russell?
I will abstain.
You'll abstain, and I'm an aye as well. Motion carried. We're done with all the executive sessions. On to 10.3. OSBA elections. That's kind of there's one person.
I move that we accept action under 10.3. So I move the board to approve Greg Kintz, for the OSBA Board of Directors position for.
Okay, so motion's been made to approve Greg Kintz for the OSB Board of Directors position 14.
Second.
And you seconded. Okay. Any discussion on that one?
I just felt bad for the guy.
I don't. It's kind of hard to vote for somebody that's only one.
I got asked to sign up for that, and I was like,
I know, I don't know how he does it.
Okay, so Director Russell, go for it. Aye. Vice Chair Smith-Reed?
Aye.
Director Killings?
Aye.
Director Walker?
Aye.
And Chair York is aye as well. 10.4, OSB election of legislation committee position 14.
I move that the board approve Sandra Gomez for the OSBA Legislative Committee position 14.
Second.
Okay, been moved and seconded that we approve Sandra Gomez for OSB Legislation Committee position 14. I'll ask for discussion, but probably not. And we'll go Director Russell?
Aye.
Vice Chair Smith-Reed?
Aye.
Director Walker?
Aye.
Director Killings?
Aye.
Chair York's aye as well. Policy EB, safety program.
I move that the board approve policy EB as presented.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we accept policy EB as presented. Is there any discussion on that one? No? Director Russell?
Aye.
Vice Chair Smith-Reed?
Aye.
Director Killings?
Aye.
Director Walker?
Aye.
And I'm aye as well. 10.6, policy DBEA, budget committee. Is there a motion on that one?
I move that the board approve policy DBEA as presented.
I second.
Okay, been moved and seconded that we approve policy DBEA as presented. Is there any discussion? No. I'll flip it around. Director Killings?
Aye.
Director Walker?
Aye.
Vice Chair Smith-Reed?
Aye.
Director Russell?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. 10.7, policy IIA, instructional material.
I move that the board approve policy IIA as presented.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded that we approve policy IIA as presented. Any discussion? I'll start the other way. Director Russell?
Aye.
Vice Chair Smith-Reed?
Aye.
Director Walker?
Aye.
Director Killings?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. 10.8, policy JOA, directory information.
I move that the board approve policy JOA as presented.
Second. Second.
Who's going to second it?
Let her have it.
Director Walker seconded. It's been moved and seconded that the board approve policy JOA as presented. Any discussion? None. Director Russell?
Aye.
Vice Chair Smith-Reed?
Aye.
Director Walker?
Aye.
Director Killings?
Aye.
I'm an aye as well. Okay, we're to board reports. Wow, that was quick.
That's not really.
That was, what?
To say that was
All
not
the
really.
action items, that's all.
Just the action items.
That's all, sorry. Does anybody want to do a board report?
I will, I'll start.
Okay, Director Russell?
I volunteer again with the 4th grade class at Lewis and Clark, and I just love it. They really make my day. I will be starting to also volunteer at Plymouth here tomorrow. And then I helped Melody at Crosswalk, and I showed up on a day that we had no school.
Oh, no.
And,
That's okay, I did the same thing.
and then there was no school the next day, and I'm so glad I found that out because I would have been there again. So that was awesome. but I think it's a lot of fun. I think Melody does a great job, and I loved it. Also, in my board report, I do have a question about, I had some community members ask me about their children who are going to the college program, and they felt sad and that their students were not allowed to get the same ropes and participation cords. Thank you for correcting me. The participation cords that are allowed, I think we have someone in the audience here about that. Maybe you could speak on it. But it was really hurtful. They are working really hard. They would like to be accepted for the same scholarships and the same, what do you call that? Like, no, like your, the people who speak. Thank you. You know, like they should have those same opportunities. And we have a large number of students going this year, and they just would really like that. And so I just am bringing that to you because it's not something, so is that something maybe you could follow us back up on? Yeah. Is that common? Do you know? That's all I have.
Okay.
Thank you. Go for it.
Vice Chair Smith-Reed?
Let's see, we went to the OSBA conference, which I already talked about. It was awesome. I already talked about that. That was really all I was going to say. Also, even though, and this is probably not the time for it, even though my KO complaints were voted to be not heard, I do want to apologize for using a term that I've heard many times in a public meeting, and I will not be doing that again. So.
Director Killings?
You skipped him. I didn't see him.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, I'll get back to him in a minute.
Okay, just back on you.
I'm kind of shaking it all up here.
Go ahead and just.
Okay. I'll jump to you, sir.
I've been volunteering in McBride. It's been great, trying to push kids to be in the classrooms so they continue learning, because learning's how we have a good life. We had great success at the high school with our fall sports. Girls made it to the first round of playoffs for volleyball, which was great. We're getting ready for our Thankfulness Week, so we should have a Spirit Week and stuff like that. We had football versus volleyball in a volleyball game where we switched the coaches and then had a good time, which was fun for the players to get to do. Huh?
That must have been an interesting game.
Volleyball, very badly. 25-10.
Did we add men's volleyball to our?
I was going to ask that.
Because I know the schools are now doing that. Did we?
That's what I've
It's all
heard.
about Title IX, so we have to all fall into.
Yeah, I think we have men's volleyball now, which
Nice.
guys are excited about.
I can't believe it took this long.
Winter sports are coming in, so come watch Special Styles and compete for basketball, wrestling, swim, all the other things we do.
Thank you.
It's exciting to hear your college prospects that you were discussing with us outside the boardroom, but that was really great. Good luck to you on that.
Thank you.
I have one more thing to add to my
Sure.
report. We also, while we were at the OSBA conference, we sat in, or some of us sat in, on a school, Oregon City School District they do have a student representative, but they also have a student
Superintendent is an advisory
advisory, and they select kids from, while you're awfully kind, they select kids from all walks of life. The kids who don't want to come to school, the kids who don't like school, the kids who sit in a corner by themselves, and as well as a variety of athletes, right. And they come to these, there's lunch provided, and so like one of the kids said, the only reason I go is because it's free lunch.
It's a good lunch.
It's a good lunch, yeah.
But
she
like,
said
what are they doing?
they're talking about, like, they're sharing things that they've heard from their peers. The superintendent gives them like an update on, they talk about the agenda that's coming up for an upcoming board meeting, and then they give their input as far as like, you know, what do you think about this issue that's coming up? And sometimes they talk about it, sometimes they don't, but it gives a chance for, because while Joseph is liked by all, he doesn't represent all.
Correct.
And I think that it is really hard when you don't see people who look like you, or people that you can relate to and say, well, okay, I feel safe with this person because they have walked in my path, right? And I love that idea. I don't know if that's something that we could do, but I would love to see it happening. I know that you do some superintendent advisory committees, and that's beyond our scope, but it was really powerful to be in that room because the students were there, not the entire advisory committee. I can't remember how many people, who else was in that? Maybe it was just me. There were like 20 or 15 or 20 kids on this advisory committee, and there were 4 of them there. And they're all different, and they all had, there was an outspoken kid, and there was a quiet kid, and there was I hate school, so you're never gonna see me. Right, the kid who worked 2 jobs, and it was just really, I think it's really important in a community that is where we are to see people that look like you. I don't know. Anyway, that's all. Moving on.
Okay. So, because of being on the board for so dang long, okay, I constantly am thinking about the things that we're dealing with right now as a board, like with different things that have happened over the years here. And there's one that I would like to tell you about, and I won't use any names, and I'll be really careful, okay? So, but there was a playoff game, a basketball game at one point. We'll say a lot of years ago, just to keep it safe on that one. During this game, of course, everybody wanted to win both teams, because it was going to state then. And it was a local 2 towns, and during this game, it got so exciting that one of the people did not want one of the best players on our team to get a basket and stuck their foot out and tripped that person. As that person fell and slid, they were kicked by some of the other players. It brought the whole game to a stop, as the father of the basketball player that fell actually interrupted the entire basketball game going out onto the floor. When they got out onto the floor, everybody saw the father going, so the ref stopped the game, and it took quite some time, and back then, there weren't cameras of the game, so it had to be a few people only that were actually saw that part, because everybody else's eyes were on the basket going the other direction. What happened is that the players that did that then did get kicked off the team. And so that caused that team not to be able then to go to state. And it caused major amount of hard feelings both ways. And for weeks, between the Spotlight and the Chronicle newspaper that we used to have there were letters from parents from both schools back and forth, every single week. One was countering the other. And it reminds me a lot of what we've all dealt with over the last year, is having people being so upset. But what brought it to an end finally was a lady from the town that their students had gotten taken off of the team. And she said, we can keep going on like this, but we all do know what happened. But the blame needs to stay on the people that caused the problem. Instead of everybody attacking each other, continuing to go on and hurting each other. And I remember that happening when that letter came out. I think there was a lot of tears in both towns, but I think it brought it to an end. And I think at this point, I think we all need to look at, and we can see by what we're all dealing with even still tonight, is that it's time for us all to say, what can we do? We've spent a year, as of today, a year, being upset, being angry, being mad, and instead, what could we have done to try to see if we can't fix this problem? Let's work together. Let's all get at tables together from all different, just like your kids. Let's get some adults all together and put them all in tables together.
It really was a year ago today that
A year ago today.
it all got released.
Yeah.
That we had.
And the teachers were arrested in this all too. So anyway, so I just been really thinking about that, and when I remember that happening, it was extremely difficult for everybody. And had to be devastating for the school district. The team didn't get to go to state, But that was the sport. This is people being hurt, and I think that we all need to quit being mad at each other. Think about where the blame stays, and let's all go to work on figuring out how. Let's see if we can fix it.
Thank you, Melanie.
Director Walker.
I'm gonna say it, just gavel me if I'm out of line.
Go ahead.
Okay. I was able to go to the conference on Friday. I wasn't able to go the whole weekend. And the one thing that kept ringing through the rafters was the relationship between board and superintendent. And there was one particular session, it was 3 schools represented and they were pretty diverse. And the superintendent and the board chair for each district. And the oversimplification sometimes is really powerful. And what was said is the board decides what, and the superintendent does how.
Yes.
And when they mix, it's like a bomb goes off and nothing gets done. The other thing I want to say is that everybody here is here because they want to help this district and they want to help the students and the teachers. There's a lot of passion in this group of people, and I think I'm really kind of surprised at the number of complaints that are coming at this board, and having to deal with the complaints takes up so much time, and these beautiful people are sitting out here while we're doing it in executive session, whatever, that's the way things roll, but I think that we need to read our board policies, our board behaviors, our board conduct, and we need to get out of our own way. We need to be mindful of what we say. And I feel really rude right now because this is my first board meeting. I would say we need to get out of our way. But I do think that if we're mindful of what we're saying, we can say what we're saying, but we need to be mindful of how we're saying it and do the business that the board is here to do. That, to me, is how we move forward. So I appreciate everybody here. I'm thankful to be here.
Thank you for being here.
Well, I was gonna name the November Elks Student of the Month, but I think I'll pass.
That's awesome.
It's different. I'll let the PR folks give the update at the next meeting. I didn't want to steal their thunder.
Oh.
But I can tell you there's a dinner planned for the 20th this month. At the Elks. Unfortunately, I'll be out of town that week, or else I'd be attending. I do want to back up and talk about what you said about complaints and things. The Kale complaint process is needed. I just want to give an update on money and the time that goes into it. To date, we spent $40,000 dealing with attorney's fees, handling Kale complaints, and staff business. And then for the superintendent to investigate, document, and write a report, it's taken up to about 20 hours a time, a sheet each complaint. So, it's like you said, let's all watch how the board speaks and do better. I just want to throw that out there about the money and not try to stop anybody from making a Kale complaint. So, with that, I will shut my mouth and move on to superintendent report.
I had a wonderful time at the OSC conference as well. I got to see a lot of my colleagues from across the state and learn alongside the board and my colleagues. That was fabulous. I think my favorite part, yes, I love the student advisory and I'm getting to know students. Because I need to get to know students before I invite students to participate, right? Or they're not going to listen to me or want to be alone in a room with me and share their word. I can
Free lunch.
Free lunch, but listening and learning sessions in high school, I had 2 kids, right? So and it's a secondary advisory, loved it, totally gonna work towards that. But my favorite part was the student performances at that event. I was just amazed by the powerful, just the power of children and why we're here, right? So it was fantastic. I wanted to share an update that I got to meet with our amazing school leaders, and the assistant superintendent and I did a professional learning, would say, on, the culture of care in our schools and what that should look like, and listening and learning from what they're doing in our schools, and talking about like standards, right? And how, like, I'm coming new into this district and I'm holding the standard up way high because I have high standards for myself. I have high standards for my community, and I have definitely high standards for my students. And I said that at sometimes, there's my little squeezy ball, at sometimes I feel like we're here, we're recovering from things, right? And we're setting standards lower. And I said, we need to work really hard together to rise to the occasion and have conversations, like you said, about what's working, what's not working, and be really transparent with one another about growth, right? And what are those areas of growth? So we talked a lot about data. We had them bring their own referral data because we'd had educators and administrators and community members and parents and students report that we weren't collecting all that referral data accurately. And so we're going to do a better job doing that. Everyone's on board with that. Because it's about the whole child, right? The culture of learning and the culture of care. And so it was fantastic to just sit in a room with great leaders and provide professional learning as well as learning alongside them. So I'm very happy about that.
Also, there was a mariachi band, and Woodburn was the first mariachi band, school band in the state of Oregon. And they played, and it was amazing. And what are the dancers called? They had like a dance.
Yeah, fancy up.
They had fancy, and they like lined the entire room with the dancers, and it was really cool. And then there was a cappella group from some school, I can't remember, Oregon City. And I mean, there were literally tears shed. Like people were, it was just really, the kids, seeing kids do that, I don't know, it's cool. Sorry. Upcoming meetings.
All reports concluded. Moving on, 13, upcoming meeting and board meeting agenda input. 13.1, December 10th, 2025, regular work session. 13.2, January 14th, 2026 is going to be a work session. 13.3, January 28th, 2026. It's going to be a regular session. Excuse me?
Can we add the other board meeting? November 24th. Okay, so she's got the one more to add.
Okay. November 24th. How about 13.4?
13.4.
Out of order.
Yeah, be the November 24th.
November 24th, 2025 work session. They get that? Yeah. Okay.
I think we all got it down.
Any further comments, corrections, or anything?
Hey, while you're fixing turkeys, don't forget to be here.
Is that Thanksgiving?
I'm not making
No,
a
but
vice
it's that
until
Monday.
Wednesday.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And then I